the last panel of the morning. This one is the conjunction between the two panels that we just saw for urbanism. So digital twins and digital assets are the next frontier for urbanism. So for this panel, start with the ladies first. We have Carla Soldana Ochoa. She's an assistant professor for AI in architecture at the School of Architecture at the University of Florida. She's an expert in urban AI. She's also a member of the organization Urban AI, which is an organization that gives recommendation on the use of AI for urban and cities, for urban settings. And she's also a specialist on climate disaster response. Then I have Michael John Green. Michael is running the DDA, the Downtown Development Authority. Woo! It's a semi-governmental organization that oversees all the development of downtown, that's spanning from, I think, Brickell up to Wynwood, a little before Wynwood. Yes, so it's about 70,000 buildings that you guys oversee, and you help businesses come to downtown, set a shop in downtown, and you are also part of an initiative that is creating a 3D representation of this area that will perfectly plug into our environment. Welcome, Michael, John. Then we have Pavel. So Pavel is a
Dr. Pavel.
Dr. Pavel, exactly. He's a technologist with 29 years of experience. He created a company called SynPlanet, very interesting, that leverages geospatial technologies to create synthetic virtual environments. That's the environment that we saw in the beginning. So it's helping us create what we call the Lego base, which is the digital representation of cities. And then you can plug in AI into that, AI agent. We will see after what we can do. It's pretty amazing what we can develop on that. And then we have Heath. Heath, we know each other for a long time now, but we are also working together in integrating our platforms. Heath runs a company for a decentralized storage solution. As we said before, the amount of data and the processing is increasing, and we need to find new ways to store data and process data, so they bring a very innovative solution. So welcome, guys. We need to recognize also for Ingrid, Dr. Vassiliou Freites, which had a problem with her connection flight, so she will not be able to join us today. So, as I said, cities generate enormous amount of data. It's transportation, it's real estate, it's energy. Cities have to deal with the urban environment as well as the industrial environment and the human environment. So how, in your opinion, digital twins or integration of this environment can be made through the tools that we are talking about, digital twins? For example, maybe Carla, you want to take how digital twin help bridge those different strats in a city?
So you just said we are living in this city that is rich of data streams. So it's coming
Yes.
from the environmental information modeling, we have building information modeling, we have also infrastructure information modeling, and we also have citizen information modeling. All of these different data layers are coming together to what we're trying to create, which is this idea of a digital twin platform. So we've been hearing through the whole morning what a digital twin could be or can become. And I think one of the main key factors to think about digital twins is this ability to have a bi-directional data connection, which means that it's not only leveraging historical data to either predict using AI algorithms, but it's able to get data from the real
Right.
physical asset
So
at real time.
it can analyze historic data, but it's also getting input from the live feed of the
Correct.
city.
Because the idea with the digital twins, and you're seeing here on the screen, is this digital twin continuum, which is giving you kind of different stages that we can consider digital twins.
Yes.
So the first one, it's called a existence digital twin, and this is leveraging information that exists on the physical environment.
Yes.
It's not yet as densely informational, but it's containing more or less a level of detail that can be recognizable from the physical environment. The next level is the status digital twin, and this is when you're leveraging information from historical events or from historical data from different assets of the built environment.
Right.
But here what is important is that you're also getting these bi-directional data connection with the physical asset, with the sensors. So you're getting this connection from IoT data, for example, to the building,
Right.
and then you are able to store that data meaningfully to the assets that you're tracking.
Right.
If you're doing facility management, for example, you would like to track specific assets in rooms within floors within a building. So you need to be able to go back to that hierarchy. Then what is really interesting here is when you move to the third stage, which is this operational or operational digital twin, and here's when you are leveraging AI models for prediction. If you have historical data, if you have data from now,
Right.
you can recognize events that have been not successful and then try to label that as an action that needs to be taken.
Recognize patterns.
Correct. And then the next step, which is really interesting, is the simulation digital twin. When you're building up from creating the 3D environment, you're getting this connection with the real asset, you're getting this information-driven decision-making tool, and then you're able to simulate physical environment, like weather conditions in the case of environmental data, or energy efficiency in the case of the energy grid. What is really interesting in this part is that we are able to leverage different modeling systems. And it's not only about AI as a prediction, classification, but we also can think about generative algorithms as a way to help us navigate these 3D data-rich environment. So I don't know if you want me to go a bit much more in detail. I have some slides that can help with examples.
You can quickly, then I want to have also the view of the other panelists on.
As long as Dr. Carla says, "Go Gators!"
Yes. Go Gators. So what you're seeing on the screen is the different projects that we have developed at the College of Design and Construction and Planning at UF, and they're coming from these different skills. But what we're looking here is the goal that we were looking and the users that were specified for this project. So the first one is at the scale of the building. And here we have two projects. The first one is an intelligent hospital. So how do we create a digital twin to be able to track every single asset on the hospital? But then what you're also seeing on the bottom video is a building, university building. So what are we call them essentials for digital twins? What are the tools that can help us not only track assets, but also feel immersed and have this interconnection and interactivity that this digital twin should have in order to make decisions for not only people with expert knowledge, but as well with people that could get a better understanding of the situation.
A tenant in a building or a service provider that arrives on site and wants to see
because reading graphs is not the same way as experiencing it on a digital environment, immersive environment. So the second skill, this is at the scale of the neighborhood. So we're developing, together with my colleague that will present in the workshop later, we call that a merge between photorealistic 3D modeling and the procedural way that we're creating geometry there now.
Yes.
There is no direct or not trivial relationship between these two ways of creating 3D geometry, but we're trying to build up through computer graphics and some geometry rules to create the environments that you see here underneath using both rule-based generative algorithms and photogrammetry tools. And then on the top,
because you have to differentiate virtual environments that use maybe a game engine to visualize a space, or realistic environments as two different things, right?
Yes, but then it's the way that you can also interact with them. So here is the two last videos. This is the JAX twin, which is a huge effort investment by the last president of the University of Florida, and we were wanting to create a digital twin of the whole state. So it was the digital twin of Florida. And we had a case scenario for Jacksonville that we were trying to overlay different questions. So for example, we're wanting to know what happened if you overlaid health data with infrastructural data from the sewage system and information of natural disasters. Because there is a reasoning behind of saying if there is a flooding and you have, I have I got it.
As Dr. Carla's mentioning that, notice that she's talking about the digital twin of the state. Jeff Carney, which we met at the Climate Resilience Committee, with the Climate Alliance here, thanks to Huge, actually talked about how we can collaborate with the MDRES down here with your Jack's Twin up there.
Yeah,
Dr. Carla, what else do you envision for emergency response and flooding and the rest?
So this is what later in the afternoon, my colleague, Dr. Chenjai Chen, is going to talk about the technology that we developed in order to not only have an intense 3D environment, but also have an information-driven decision-making tool, like embedding what we call this spatial awareness, which means that we're able to see elements react to the flood level, for example, in a very interactive way. Mm-hmm. So we can make decisions about where to plan to construct in the moment you're even thinking about where the building can be.
Right. Okay, thank you. MJ, you oversee Downtown Development Authority. In your position, how would you use digital twin? What problem would it solve in your position for your daily job to have such tools at hand?
Well, thanks first of all for having me. The DDA, not only, I think we all know that data is important for decision making, right? And so we're working on a 3D map. I think the 3D maps and the digital twins will not only help us. On my way over here, I was waiting for the Metro Mover. Metro Mover was taking a little bit long time. We took a freebie. Freebies are these free electric golf carts that are downtown. The DDA fully pays for that for individuals to be able to take those. But in some of our decision making and looking into the future, where will there be more people? Where will the density of riders be, and where will they be going? And that's where we should actively try to place those freebies so it has the best user experience, right? I think we talked a little bit about flooding. What does that look like, right? And where the DDA we have, if you're ever downtown, you see folks in either a blue or an orange, bright blue or orange shirt, our ambassadors. You know, where should we be putting them to direct traffic?
Right.
Where should we be putting them to help people cross the roads if there are an immense amount of flooding in Brickell or other areas like that? Where should we be pushing the city, the county, and the state to make certain infrastructure improvements? And then I also think lastly, you know, on the development side, you know, you can look at downtown Miami and you can want to have a business here. The 3D maps, the digital twins really will assist in that decision making and that investment decision making as far as what is coming next, right? You know, I think that you can look at downtown and there's a host of opportunity downtown, but what is coming next? Where should you put your small grocery store? Is in the future that this big hole that's in the ground, is that gonna be a commercial tower or is it gonna be a residential tower? And how does that affect your decision making on your business or where you wanna put whatever the investment you're making, or are you gonna build another commercial tower, residential tower, or where should that go? And so I think that, you know, unfortunately, I think that cities, municipalities, the DDA and the like, we haven't fully maximized our potential in being able to collect data, but also to analyze that. But I think that in some of the projects that some of the folks in this room and some of the people on the panel are gonna greatly improve that ability to make certain decisions. Right. And so I think that we're really excited about that. And then, you know, the DDA, we really act as this intermediary to facilitate and support great business, great decision makers, other people to be able to do those things. And so being able to provide that data and that analysis to individuals to attract other people to this great American city is something that we're really excited about.
Awesome, thank you. Maybe Pavel, you develop a virtual representation of cities. Can you tell us what kind of data do you aggregate and what can you offer for cities, for example, that will adopt your solution, and then for aggregating this kind of different environments, which are transport, mobility, we touch development of real estate, the density of people, all that information. How do you collect that?
Let me be the devil's advocate and start with some basics. Because like today and almost every day, I hear a lot about digital twins and real the definition digital twin. So possibly because we're some kind of scientific technological nerds, we are very cautious in our company to use definitions. Thus we are using several definitions like digital replicas, digital visualizations, and digital twins.
Right. I know you're a purist for the digital twin. definition.
I like
I
that.
let you explain on that.
Exactly. So when we are speaking about city digital twin, which is urbanized environment, so our definition has many components, and these components are, so it's open system, interactive, interoperable, real-time, accurately georeferenced data visualization. So this is what we call digital twin. And if you ask me, in our humble opinion, if there is any city digital twin in the world, I will say no, there are no. So there are many expensive, fragmented data pieces and solutions based on them,
Yes?
but not yet in the whole sense of the definition of digital twin of the city. There is no. Is it possible? Yes, it is. And it's just like it's about data aggregation.
Right.
And not data collection. You know, data collection, unfortunately, is what's happening nowadays. And it's a headache of AI companies, of data science companies, because they are collecting data from hundreds of thousands of sources.
Right.
It's a
So back
headache.
to my question: how do you collect that data? What kind of data first, and how do you collect it?
So, you know, there are many sources of data. Like our business, because we are data layer 0, so we aggregate all the basic data, visualize it, and then you can, starting from this moment, you can upload unlimited amount of data at any format, any standard, any protocol. So what do we do to build basic visualization? So there is geospatial data, there is cadastral data, and mostly like every city council, but again, cadastral data, it's not accurate. I mean, some places, some cities, like they have very accurate, some not, especially emerging countries. So then there are different kind of...
That's public data. You connect to
Exactly.
APIs.
It's public, there is like not public, partially public, private data. There are many subscriptions, there are many data sources, and then definitely it's about IoT devices, because IoT devices, it can be IoT sensors, it can be CCTV cameras, it can be FPGAs. But again, like if there is any city which has connection, real-time connection with all the IoT devices, nope. You know why? Not because like city doesn't want, or companies do not want, or city residents do not want. So there is no synthetic environment where you can remotely connect it and upload and get access. So this is, and like exactly what it should be. It's like what we call digital twin. So, but yes, we are collecting, aggregating all the data starting from geospatial. By the way, geospatial data is huge. It's like a vast amount of data, because if you take all the geospatial data plus all the data on corporate servers, it's like existing web tenfold. So it's huge.
Yeah, and it's dynamic, so it changes every day. So
No, it's not every millisecond. Every millisecond, you know, come on.
Exactly, so every day.
Yeah, and
So-
it's crucial. And it's
Right.
crucial because approximation of data, you know, it's very high. So, and sometimes the value like of data you are getting because you're spending more money, it can be crucial, especially for city environment.
Yeah. Paula, you want to say something?
So I want to compliment to what you're saying in the fact that digital twins cannot be done for a general question to say I want to create a digital twin of a city, but it needs to be targeting a user and it needs to be targeting a particular question that you have. If you want to see the correlation between, as I said, energy grid and the infrastructure, I don't know, a hospital, then you will need to see what are the data layers that you need to add. The question that I have, and I think if this relates to the amount of data that you bring here, is that you call this a data aggregation platform, right? Because when you're thinking about the scale of a city, you have different data sets that are coming at different scales. So you have data sets that are coming at the census tract, you have data sets that are coming at the household level, you have data sets that are coming at the cell phone as mobility data. What is your decision of the aggregation method? So the question here is, what is your minimal unit of aggregation that you consider to say that's how we're going to organize the data set?
A very good question. Data has two stems, which are very important for us. One stem is space, so it's georeference. And when speaking about georeference, it's like altitude, longitude, latitude. And another step is time step. So like they are crucial because data is dynamic. and it's changing both georeference and time. But nowadays, like possibly not all people know, but all data is georeferenced. Like web is absolutely 100% georeferenced. What we found out, because one of crucial parts of our technological stack is georeferenced artificial intelligence. Because LLMs, like any LLM, like they're semantic, they're not trained to work with georeferenced data. So if you are using ChatGPT or Sora or like whatever, they don't understand georeference. And it's specific, but like without georeference, you are not able to aggregate data, because if to aggregate data, you need to coordinate. Like there should be, I mean, it's like our planet is a huge database of planetary scale of coordinates. So any piece of data, it doesn't matter what kind of source, what kind of format of data, it should be allocated in specific place. So this specific place is coordinates and time.
Just one little thing.
Okay.
So, yes, I understand everything can be georeferenced. And I was calling it, when I was writing my PhD, a fulcrum. So you need a fulcrum to move the world.
A what?
And a fulcrum. Fulcrum.
Lever.
Okay.
For acting with a lever, you need a fulcrum, which is the
Okay.
point that allows you to
Another
move
new
the
one.
world. Because the fulcrum is the most important thing for performing the act of moving, right? So when you say the georeference, the geocoordinates are the one that allows you to bring all the multimodality of data for that georeference, then the question is really, what is that? What is the minimal polygon where you're going to aggregate everything? Because I think the question, and probably I was just giving you a hint about what I think may be a solution, is depending on the user and the question that you have. If your question is about water sources, maybe you don't want to talk about water bodies, but you want to be able to see a range of influence within the river or the lake and how it affects the city. But, so I would just want to say that this is really interesting for me to think about the terminology that you're using, because I also don't refer as digital twins all the time. I think of them as the intelligent environments. Because if you think about digital twins in the building life cycle, the building life cycle starts with the feasibility, when you're even thinking about the project. So there is no physical asset yet, but there is an environment that you can think of. And then when you're thinking about the design itself, the virtual, it's becoming more, let's say, concrete or much more defined, and then the physical is not there yet. But as you keep moving through the building life cycle, then it's becoming much more concrete in both sides. So thinking of a digital twin, it already presupposes that you need to have a physical asset from the very beginning. So if you start thinking about different other ways of terminology that you can refer to these, data rich, interconnected, interoperable, data intensity, and bidirectional connection, then maybe this is something else on digital twin.
I just wanted, because you just mentioned a very crucial issue, and again, you know, like Elon Musk is promising us like 100 million of billions of robots production per year, yeah? So we have already many unmanned vehicles. I mean, like we are waiting for others but there will be like millions of them. And currently, like all the companies, like it doesn't matter, is it Google or like Cesium, Argis, like SRI, they are using standard which is WGS84, the standard of 1984. Can you imagine? So sometimes when you are ordering Uber, possibly not in Miami, but I don't know, like in Asia, so you can find out that it can be not location where you are, but like 50 or 100 meters from you. The problem of geopositioning, because Google, as all other companies using the standard, the mistake of positioning is from 5 to 50 meters. So, okay, possibly for you as a passenger, like it's not crucial, but for robot, ultimately crucial. So it's for training is crucial, it's for navigation is crucial, it's traffic management is crucial, and we know that the blood of urban system is logistics. So without mapping, because there is like we have data and data in source, and it can be different fidelity. But speaking about mapping, it should be ultimately accurate.
Right, and so we understand that data can come from a lot of different sources, can take different forms, videos, virtual synthetic environments, gaming interfaces. It's a lot of data that needs to be processed on a daily basis. So I want to come to the point of how are we going to store and manage all this data at the city level. Should the model of the cloud storage change? And should we go to a model where we have to store the data more locally to process what needs to be processed on the daily basis locally and keep it local, and we send to the cloud only what we choose to send to the cloud? Heath, you have a very interesting solution that reimagine storage differently than the centralized storage solution that we have, and that uses the IPFS network. If you can explain what you do, it's very interesting.
Thanks, Matt. So, look, as on the previous panel, we heard Porter talking about Filecoin and verifiability. Holon itself actually works with the Filecoin network. We use the Filecoin network for verifiability, and of course we work with immutable data structures. That's critically important for digital assets and certainty, knowing what you have and knowing what you have through time. So actually the big innovation here, founder of IPFS and Filecoin One, is kind of like when you look at, we're shifting to a realm where we can actually have data custody in the true sense as opposed to data capture. Like you can see that today, the biggest models in the world, like big companies now, like when you look, they're just massive data models, right? And they're rolling out this massive infrastructure in that way. So if you want to support really like digital assets, particularly in the sense that Matt's talking with Magma, with like an open data economy, you need to start going down the pathways of actually having infrastructure that's actually can be verified independently of the actual provider, right? So Holon actually, so we run that tech stack. We run this on like with data storage and compute using storage mediums and typical NVIDIA chips, etc. The other thing that's happening is that in the world we're seeing a huge, lots of innovations going on, particularly in immersion cooling, which have actually then changed the dynamics. So what I say to you guys, most data centers today, guys, are all like basically air-cooled. So essentially, and that's what we've been scaling over time. Now what's happened is the cost of the dielectric fluid that we can now put compute into has come down so much, it doesn't make sense.
So you're talking about the servers that instead of being refreshed by projecting air to a server, it's immersed in a liquid, right? That can also get the energy from the heat of the server and back into the building, right?
That's exactly right. And this is kind of like actually Web3 is driven a lot of these developments, Bitcoin in particular, with a focus on actually you know, what the Bitcoin network needs. It consumes a lot of compute, a lot of energy. And of course that started falling into HPC because for AI, everybody started to realize, wow, we're going to consume a lot of energy. And then you started to realize the only way to cool the machines, we've got to go to immersion cooling. Now, when you go down that pathway, then you start to realize data centers look very different. So in Holon's case, we're running small-scale data centers where we can actually then put them in prime locations to support where the data is actually being generated and used.
Right.
And then we've got perfect, like the data structures we work around are great for things like, again, like AI at the center of that. So, and the immersion cool process itself is vastly more efficient. So it's like 40% more energy savings actually on that, which is fantastic, fantastic for the environment. When the data centers are small, you can drive them with more green energy as well, which is another major benefit. And then the other thing that is quite interesting about the Web3 technology stack is that essentially, and again, this is like the ethos of Web3 has been to solve a lot of the problems that we see with the way we run data today, particularly centralization. I was touching on that. We've seen these outages, we've seen problems that come up with security. So we view ourselves as like running critical data infrastructure where a lot of the risks can be managed in the technology stack. That actually allows us also to materially lower the cost of delivering the infrastructure service as well. We just don't have to spend as much. So you can imagine us running 30 sites throughout a city, 30 small-scale data centers as opposed to running like 3 major big data centers. We can actually improve the probabilities of outcomes with certainty around data while also actually lowering the cost of actually running that.
Right, and also you can enhance the life cycle of the equipment because, as I understand, you lower the vibration on the machine, so you can expect a life expectancy of a few years longer for the material. So it's not only the infrastructure, but also the equipment that you improve. So it's more sustainable, it's less costly, and also it stays at the edge. So that means we gain more sovereignty about the data. We don't have to send all the data in a cloud. It can stay local, and the local stakeholders decide what they want to send to the cloud if they do. But a lot of the data, the amount of data that's processed locally can stay local. So that's very important. Thank you. MJ, what do you see? How do you see the future, especially in Miami? How do you see the adoption of these new technologies when you talk to developers or other your folks at the city? Do you see really engagement or movement coming that way?
I mean, I think that this type of data management, and I really like the term intelligent building. I think that makes a lot more sense to government folks than necessarily maybe a digital twin. But I think that it's going to be definitely private sector led, right? This technology is growing and moving so fast. Government is extremely risk adverse. And so I think that with some of our partners, whether it's universities, Miami-Dade College, really working with private institutions to find pilot spaces and pilot projects to show how this is going to work and show how the data can be used. And then I think that local governments, municipalities, different things like that will take it on. And I really recommend, you know, for the folks who are working on some of these projects, not an opinion of the DDA, but my own personal opinion, to really focus on some of the smaller cities that we have here in Miami and getting them to kind of bite onto this, and whether that's finding a building, a school,
Yeah.
or different things like that to show the true real impact.
For example, Coral Gables or Kendall or...
I think, you know, again, personal opinion, I think the Coral Gables is a good spot. I think that the Grove also has a lot of opportunity there. But then I also think, you know, Miami-Dade County is a dynamic environment and ecosystem. I also think when you talk about water usage, management, and all those different things, I think about a lot of times agriculture, right? And you already even see from some of the other digital assets, them using that to track things going in different places, right? Blockchain has been used by Walmart for quite some time now. And so I think that there's some opportunities there to also really be able to use that with also taking on much more square footage.
Yeah.
And then not only just building environment, but also to the, you know, real environment and the changes and complexity that that has. I think that that could be really interesting and good partners down there in the Homestead area to really be able to work with. And then I think as you do that, those types of things can flow upstream to get to a larger city, county level, and really getting them to understand how this is going to benefit them in the long run. I think conceptually, most people can really understand and see it, but in my short stints and times in government, politicians don't really do well with concepts. Do much better with, I think, you know, hardcore facts and showing them something tangible.
Yes, a great insight.
Finding that you can find some success.
Great insight. And in that, maybe I will plug Silvio. Here, Silvio, maybe you can touch on the pilot project that we are putting together and the work that you are doing with Sustaina Cities as well, because I think that could be also a good opportunity for building owners to plug to our environments and show for a fact how does this work and how that can play.
That's right. And I don't know, Pablo, if you want to set anything up here, you've done incredible work, and I also want MJ to see some of the work that we've been doing in the background, in case you want to get onto that stuff. But so basically, you know, MJ, thanks for your points and obviously for the support and everything that you're doing in your leadership. The idea with Sustainable Cities is like, how do we help all our ecosystem of partners we've been gathering, investing in, co-developing with, working with for the last 10 years, and how do I make it easy for the end customer, City of Miami, City of Coral Gables, Miami-Dade College, FIU, whomever it is, to adopt these things, right, in a way that doesn't make it too cumbersome, which today is very cumbersome. Can you imagine trying to integrate with each one of the panelists, right? How long that would take you if you were an institution? It would not be impossible, but it wouldn't be timely, and it wouldn't be costly, and it wouldn't really integrate. So we created Sustain the Cities as a for-profit arm to kind of create an app store that serves as a middleware that allows us to pre-integrate all these trusted technology partners and be able to quickly and rapidly deploy into adoption. And so, and that I think is really what's going to make it key, is really be technology agnostic and think about ways that we can facilitate these integrations to make it easy, make it modular, to adopt, interconnect, to make these things work. As well as then offer the financing. My passion is about resilience and sustainability, as some of you might know. So, the Jack's Twin actually, and this is something, I love from your experience, I mean, over $1 million was spent by University of Florida to support the Jack's Twin project. And, my DDA is doing a lot of incredible work and have been investing a long time in being able to collect a lot of the data and things that are needed for downtown. And so there's a lot of learning lessons here. But again, there's not really one group, unless you're an institution, but in an institution like US, there's also very limited. You cannot really commercialize, you're not made to do that. So that's where I think Sustain the Cities can come in to put the pieces together and just remove some of the friction. And MJ, maybe you could talk about what's coming down the pike for you.
I agree. I think to that point, I want to say, the DDA, we put out a host of reports. You go to our website, put out a demographics report, we put out a, commercial, residential report. Working on currently the demographics report, the census only comes out every 4 years, right? And so that data trails far, far, far behind. I also would say, there's quite a bit of human error in the census. I don't know how many of you guys fill out the census every single time it comes, but that's a big deal. A lot of people don't. And so you see the numbers. I think that they are probably, as I've just seen them, they don't show all the people that are living downtown, right? But how do you do that? I think that it's a bit of, we talked a little bit about how you, mash this data together. Are you taking census data, cell phone data, along with maybe some of the other building data in which you're really being able to really track a true number of people, right? Different programs, different sources have different algorithms that they've created and said, for every one person that fills out the census, there's 1.75 people, right? Because there's probably a person who didn't fill out the census. But is that really truly true? And I think trying to get to those real numbers, and then also this is Miami, right? I think you also have to account for how many people are here just traveling or hanging out, right? Or the people that are here for maybe 3 months a year, but then they're in Vancouver, Hong Kong, Dubai, the rest of the time. But if you are a city and looking to support them, you do need to account for them. And so I think that trying to figure out a way to be able to do all that, and I think that dollars make sense in the best ways that we can show that these things, help us save money or best allocate our money in the best ways, I think will be the things that are most beneficial to all of us, honestly, even outside of the government.
Yes, that's why we are creating also this event, and this is going to be the first of many, but also we will host workshops and to be able to establish what are the data source, what are we trying to accomplish, which technology do we want to integrate, which makes more sense. And so we will have other conversation with all of you and the ones that want to join in the Miamiverse project. So this is great. Maybe Pavel, you want to show us what you can do, if we can show it on the screen?
Yes, can you switch to my laptop? Unfortunately,
Alec or Cooper?
I think
there.
before, until you switch to the laptop, can
Yes.
I just say something about
Sure.
how the investment to digital twin technology
Yeah.
could happen? I think
And adoption, right? That's the other part. I mean, we put $1 million to the Jack's Twin, or you put $1 million to the Jack's Twin. But there really wasn't too much adoption, so maybe learning lessons of how we could do something here.
because I think there is questions that need to do with technology, which is a lot of the things that we're looking at right now, like how do we develop these in the technology realm, but there is more questions about why do we actually want to do this? And then the other line of research is who will benefit the most on these, and what are the different skills that could be helpful for? Like, do you want to have a level of detail where you can see every single pebble of the ground? or you want to be able to have a level of detail, which is a data-rich
Exactly.
environment. And
Yes.
I think that's what you can, like, that can help you when you define how much level of detail, who is your user,
Correct.
who's the user goal, and then you can really see.
Who's the end user of the data? Sometimes that's true, you need to see exactly the materials of the object that you are seeing, and sometimes you just want to know that it's an air conditioner with such data in it. So yeah, it depends on what you want to do with the data. I agree.
Pavel, maybe back to you to the demo, and this is something I know that we were going to share with MJ, but we were so busy working so maybe a big demo here for MJ too. What are we looking at? What have you been doing? Maybe you can share some of the history and what we're looking at.
Unfortunately, sound is not working here. I'm not able to talk to our AI. It's user interface. It's not agent. It's user interface of our artificial intelligence. But as you see, like all the environment, so it's accurate. It's accurate environment. You remember Matt called me 1 week before and told we need to visualize Miami, and we thought and we had 6 days, 94,000 buildings. And all are different, to visualize it. But mostly the crucial, it's Miami here, but at CES, Las Vegas, with Capgemini, we demonstrated Las Vegas, visualized there. And this guy, and we call him Moses, so he is user interface of our artificial intelligence. Why we are using it's conversational AI, but again, conversational, it's just like mechanics. So we, for many years, we got tired of formats of data like spreadsheets, infographics, text, because it's impossible to take real-time decisions in life reading something. So the mostly visualization, it's making simple way how to interact with data. So, but there are different data users. For example, city environment, city council, and in city council, many different employees, many different decision makers, businesses, city residents. So, and they need different data, but it's all access to the same synthetic environment, which is aggregating data.
Moses walk?
He can follow you, and we have navigation mesh.
So you can ask him questions, he can connect to
afterwards I
different
can
data
switch
sources.
off from the
Yes.
and we can approach, I will show
We're during the workshop, so yeah, I want to,
Yes, how
because
far?
we are
Yeah.
reaching, I think, the end of the panel. If you want to close
a couple
the
more
tab,
minutes.
so a
Yeah,
couple
but
minutes.
but mostly the key that's it's a merge of georeference artificial intelligence, which is searching by georeference, and with OpenAI SDK and and all open source databases. So for example, city mayor can ask what's the criminal situation in specific precinct right now, and based on CCTV cameras and everything, like Moses can answer this question. Or what's the air pollution and noise pollution, or what's the traffic situation. And because all the body of the city is ultimately interactive, it's dynamic, it's changing every second. And this is exactly the reason for control of traffic management in Miami or in San Francisco. You see Google Maps, they're so late comparing with real traffic congestions, mostly because this is the way how data is aggregated and processed. But we decided it will be much easier. Any data you want to get, you just ask Moses, and it's no dropped menu, no menus, just you ask, or you ask a question, or you ask him to do something, including navigation.
Great. We will have the workshops after. We have 3 workshops. One for private buildings, so commercial building, hotels, residential. One for public buildings, port, airport, train station, and public buildings. And one for urbanism. So Pavel will be able to show that in the workshop place. I think we are reaching the end of this workshop. Thank you so much for your contribution. Thank you.
It's amazing. Guys, please scan that QR code. Remember, our call to action is if you have buildings that want to be involved, or if you want to learn, or you want to participate, or you have a technology that wants to be part of the toolkit, or you just want to learn how you can be a service provider and implement. We want to empower the next generation of the economy, the next workers, the next disciplines to be able to run with these tools and help our community implement them. We need all of you to be involved. The Miamiverse is yours. Don't get this confused. It's not about us. It's really about you. So if you have an idea of what you want to see, what you want to do it, run with it. We're going to keep hosting workshops, as Matthew said, from now through the end of the year to keep training and empowerment. So get involved, scan the QR code, follow us, come have lunch with us, get involved, stay for the workshops in the afternoon, and thank you so much for coming. Thank you guys. Thank you. Happy Miami birthday.